Hey everyone, today I'm gonna react to a video that's not before or smell. Thankfully, I'm gonna watch the sample video. Is it possible to beat Luigi's Mansion with the flashlight? I know people don't ever usually react to challenge videos, but I like Luigi's Mansion, one of my favorite games. So this is a special case. Up a bit. Put it right here. There we go. Put it here.
Oh yeah, it's Halloween. Unless it isn't at the time you're watching this video, in which case, let's be real, time is really just a human construct anyway, so you know what that means. It's time to get spooky. However, I've never really been the biggest fan of horror games, for reasons that aren't just me being a coward, okay? So the scariest games I ever played as a kid were Metroid games, and my childhood favorite, Luigi's Mansion. Of course, though, given that I am about quadruple the age I was back when I first beat this game, it's no surprise that I don't get nearly as much of a terrifying thrill when I play these days. So I decided to make the overall experience just a little bit scarier for myself. And what's the most popular fear in the world? Spiders. The answer is spiders, unambiguously. But hey, darkness is also somewhere up there. The rules of this challenge are super simple. Usually, Luigi always has his flashlight on by default, and you can press and hold the B button to turn it off. So let's work some magic here and reverse it, and voila. Now the flashlight is always off, outside of cutscenes at least, not only making the game much darker and much spookier, but also severely limiting our ability to catch ghosts and progress in the game normally. Additionally, to make things even more horrifying,
I know a bunch of reactors talk while the video's playing, but I really can't do that. But what was I gonna say? Come on, think, Laura. Could be stupid. Hold on, let me rewind the video, but maybe something he said that,
not only you can press and hold the B button to turn it off. So let's work some magic here and reverse it, and voila. Now the flashlight is always off.
The buff for, like, the portrait ghosts. I'm pretty sure you don't have to flash them, you just gotta vacuum them the times right.
Outside of cutscenes, at least. Not catching every portrait ghost, snatching up every boo, and attempting to finish with an A rank at the end by collecting a ton of money. So, with the ambiance set, let us answer the question. Is it possible to beat Luigi's Mansion without using the flashlight?
Hello?
Hey.
This first section is mostly cinematic, and although the flashlight is the only thing we even have access to, there's no need to ever use it for anything. Oh man, look how leaky. This is a gold I think. Luckily, Professor Egad here shows up to hand us our brand new Poltergust 3000 that we'll start using to suck up some ghosts. He also seems to want to teach us how to use the thing, which would necessitate that we use the flashlight, but we can just straight up not catch any ghosts here in the tutorial, and Egad's old senile brain won't be able to tell the difference between that and actually completing it. Moving into the actual beginning of the game, however, we run into our first problem pretty dang quick. For once we put out these candles with our vacuum, we gotta do some ghost busting. And yeah, this is an issue. This room is required, and there's no way past this room without getting rid of these guys. And there's no way to get rid of these guys without first using the flashlight to stun them before sucking them up. I did try doing some random damage boost nonsense to see if I could somehow find a useful glitch here, but although I could certainly breed chaos, nothing actually useful came from this. So no, the challenge is unfortunately not possible. Yeah, I know, I get it, it's disappointing, but this is reality. Rather, this is now a minimalist challenge, seeking out the fewest possible times the flashlight is needed to beat the game. And although it's not quite as flashy of a title, there are still plenty of cool tricks in this run, even with this restriction. For example, although this first room requires us to use the flashlight thrice, once for each ghost, the second room introduces doubles, which allow us to suck up multiple ghosts at the same time through only a single flashlight use. If you're wondering why I didn't just do this for the 3 ghosts in the first room, it's because this game works, or at least appears to work, in waves of ghosts. Each wave has a certain amount of specific ghosts, and as far as I can tell, there's no way to move on to the next wave until you've completed the one you're currently on. So no, I can't just run around in circles waiting for all the ghosts to spawn at the same time so I can catch them all with one flash. That's not quite how it works. Instead, the best we can do at this time is limit our flashlight usage to once per wave, which means that the first room stays at 3 and the second room bolsters us up to 7. This third room has 3 waves, although it also has an extra guy chilling in the wardrobe that I can spawn in at any time, so I combine him with the first wave so he doesn't affect the overall count. These guys can also be pushed around for some reason, which allows for some easy combinations. So with as many doubles as I could manage, we were able to grab our key and move right along. And although at this point we have been consistently breaking our one and only rule in literally every every room so far, we do get a bit of a break here. This next area only consists of portrait ghosts, who thankfully don't require the flashlight in any capacity to start sucking up. And I'm not even allowed to use it during the Chauncey boss fight, so there was nothing to worry about here. So with all that, the first of the 4 areas in this game has already been completed. That being said though, we've hardly made progress. The other areas in this game are way longer and, as you may expect, have way more ghosts in them. We're already at 10 dang flashlight uses, and if we just continue at this rate, we're gonna reach an insanely high number, effectively just counting the number of waves in every room, which, at least to me, isn't a very worthwhile challenge. So let's shake things up a bit.
But Luigi challenge.
Welcome to Out of Bounds. This is basically the only glitch in the entire game, but luckily it's all we need to open up a plethora of brand new options for us, some of which might just come in handy for this challenge. But before doing any of that, how did I actually get here in the first place? Well, rather than collecting the key from this chest after defeating Chauncey, we can instead walk behind it as it's spawning in order to sort of squish Luigi in the wall a bit. From there, I start and stop using my vacuum, and as Luigi's putting the vacuum away, walk forward. Do it all right, and here we are. The negative zone. Now, if you're confused as to what's actually happening here, that's because it is, in fact, confusing. But to try to explain, we're essentially just crammed in between the first and second floor. We can see and interact with things on the first floor, but all of our collision, like where we can walk and what doors we can go through, is all determined by what's on the second floor. For example, although it looks like we should just be able to walk straight through here, we're actually being blocked by a wall on the second floor, meaning we gotta walk through a door in order to make it through. It's complicated, but not impossible to maneuver. So then, our next question is, where should we go with this? It's relatively well known that you can use this trick to skip straight to the end of the game and beat it in like 10 minutes. But some idiot decided that I had to do 100% completion for this challenge, so that's not on the table. In fact, since I'm doing 100%, skipping anything at all seems pointless, considering that I'm probably just gonna have to end up coming back to areas that I skipped later on anyway. So if I'm not allowed to just straight up skip anything, then our only other option is to benefit from simply getting something earlier than we're intended to. However, given that the vast majority of the items in this game are just means of continuing it in a linear fashion, only 3 potentially useful items come to mind. The elemental medallions. These guys allow us to shoot either fire, water, or ice out of our vacuum, which is used to either solve puzzles or, you guessed it, bust ghosts. Any 3 of these coins will probably do the job, so now we just gotta figure out which one would be best to access and how we're actually gonna go about doing that. Immediately, ice seems to be our least likely candidate. First of all, it's on the second floor, making it way harder to access compared to rooms on the first floor, which you can kind of just fall into with the right setup. Additionally, the door to enter the room normally is on goddamn fire, requiring the water metal to put out. But even if I was able to overcome both of those roadblocks and somehow clip into the tea room from out of bounds, I don't think there would be any way to get out of the tea room. You wouldn't be able to just leave through the door since it would still be on fire. There aren't any mirrors in the room, and I promise that's relevant. And although completing the room does usually spawn a boo, which would allow us to save and reset the game, we haven't actually released the boos yet, ruling out that option as well. Ice just simply doesn't seem feasible. On the other hand, water seems like an actually good option. It's nice and close to our current location, really easy to clip into, and only has a single ghost to kill in order to access it. That being said though, the single ghost in question is an ice ghost, meaning it's only possible to suck up once we grab the fire element. So alas, we fall victim to the illusion of choice, with only the fire metal, the first element you're actually supposed to get, seeming to be possible. Well, now that we at least have a goal in mind, let's start thinking of ways to actually get there, as navigation might be a little harder than it usually is. First things first, we have to find a way to get into this hallway, because if you remember, all of our collision depends on the second floor, which has a bit of a wall going on. Luckily, speedrunners have cracked this code long before we got here, so the answer is pretty clear. All we gotta do is achieve angularity.
23 years?
After turning on sidestep mode, we can coerce these bats from the ground floor to hit us through the ceiling, at which point I can quickly tap down on my C-stick as Luigi anguishes in pain, which tricks the game into rotating him on the wrong axis. The reason we want to do this becomes pretty clear if you really think about what's going on right now. Although it's true our collision depends on the second floor, remember that we're still halfway through the ground. This means that if Luigi is skewed enough to the side, rotating him in a certain way would allow him to just completely swerve the wall. And putting this into practice, we can see that this is exactly what happens. Excellent, now we're in the main hallway, which is luckily almost identical between the first and second floor, giving us almost free reign with where we can move. Unfortunately though, our path is still a little bumpy. I want to get above the room with the fire metal so I can fall into it, but the door to the room on the second floor is locked. Unlocking it ain't easy either, it's like one of the last doors in the entire game. Skewing myself to try and clip through also doesn't seem to be nearly as useful here, which is made worse by the fact that I don't actually really know what's going on. So then, my final idea for getting early fire access was to just you know, get the key to the door on the first floor, like normal. The key is located in a bathroom that's usually locked until I catch 5 boos, which themselves need to be unlocked by doing a bunch of other nonsense. But this time, we're actually in luck, as the room directly above the bathroom is not locked, allowing us to just waltz right on in and fall through the floor.
Oh, yeah.
So now we can grab the key to our fire from the toilet and make our way to, Don't worry, my friends, for although the bathroom is, for some reason, occupied from both sides, as if that makes sense, the mirror in this room can actually act as my ticket out of here. For scanning it with our camera,
That's
teleports
convenient.
us straight to the entrance of the mansion, at which point we can just, Don't worry, okay, I have this under control. We can just make our way back to Chauncey's room to collect this key that we skipped earlier so we can bust down this door like normal, make our way through the hallways completely inbounds, and then use our smuggled key to finally get the
Smuggled
fire
key.
medallion. After using 4 more flashlights to kill the ghosts in here, of course. But with all that hoopla out of the way, we finally have a tool that can get this challenge cooking. By blasting every normal ghost we see with fire and
You can
slurping
just-
up every portrait ghost with our vacuum, we
I didn't
can
know you could do
blaze
that.
through every single one of these rooms without even having to think. And with booze being another type of ghost that doesn't even require using the flashlight to begin with, we can start unapologetically busting.
I don't like it Luigis Mansion again. I fucking hate it
Dang
today.
it. Okay, so apparently you gotta use your flashlight in order to make this fortune teller ghost appear so you can give her all of Mario's garbage. It's not too bad though. We can minimize it to only 1 flashlight use by just making sure we have all 5 of Mario's items before talking to her, evening us out to a clean 15 flashlights. But now it's back to bustin', baby. Woo! As you can tell, now that we've made it through the initial rough patch, the entire rest of the game is a dang cakewalk. But of course, we still gotta do a couple things for 100% completion. Collecting all the booze is obviously no problem flashlightless, and apart from the fortune teller, nearly every single portrait ghost in the entire game, including the optional ones, are centered around using the elements, and obviously we have no quarrel with those. The only other portrait ghost that really put up a fight of any kind was Van Gogh, who abused the elements' only weakness, limited use. We got a finite amount of juice in the tank at all times before we run out and gotta refill. And this dude makes us fight, what is it, like 21 ghosts in this room with only 1 meter of gas. Luckily, by very carefully using our flame and being sure to hit all of the currently spawned ghosts at once with each shot, we were able to barely conserve enough fire to make it through the fight. Seriously, I was fighting the boo afterwards and completely ran out after only like 3 more little poots. I was towing the line big time. Oh, also, speaking of the boo fight afterwards, quick tip, maybe don't leave this room before picking up the big important key, because when you come back, the key disappears, and I'm pretty sure you just lose. Like, I don't think you can play the game anymore. Anyway, after not making that mistake and collecting the key, we were able to fulfill the only remaining requirement of 100% completion, collecting the $100 million worth of coins, bills, and precious rocks. Of course, doing this requires nothing more than a whole lot of exploring and watering plants. Watering a lot of plants. You water plants in this game. You think I'm kidding? I'm not kidding. Here's the game telling you to water plants. You have to water plants to win. If you don't water plants, you lose. This is reality. At least a fourth of this game is just watering plants. So, after plowing through the entirety of the mansion, busting every ghost, ransacking every drawer, and watering every goddamn plant, we were finally able to challenge King Boo. It was kind of just like every other boo, so he actually wasn't that hard. But alas, we made it. We braved this absolutely terrifying challenge by saving Mario and only cheating a little bit at the beginning. Yeah, right. So it's not hard to tell that this video wasn't too focused on the actual challenge at hand, but was more just an excuse to explore the Upside Down for a bit. But honestly, what better way to learn about a really cool trick than centering a cool little goal around it? Even though it was arbitrary, having to use a glitch that's usually only used for speedruns and applying it for something else is a really fun way to gain an understanding of something. Maybe the real challenge wasn't avoiding the flashlight, but
I swear to fucking
rather
God.
the friends we
Oh
made
my
along the way.
God.
Anyway, welcome to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed our spooky
I
little
did.
adventure
It
here.
was
And hey, if
fun.
you did, let me know by doing all those YouTube things. This one was pretty short and
Alright.
sweet, but I got some long form content just like this already in the bank, and you know more's always cooking. Hey, who knows? We might be seeing Luigi again pretty soon, so stay tuned for more gaming content in the future as per the usual. But for now, I'm out of here.
Which that was is it possible to beat Luigi's Mansion without using the flashlight by sample, and we figured out that no, it is not possible. And before I end this video, I want to see if there is another Luigi's Mansion video that this guy made. Okay, no. And you wait. Next up, I guess maybe next up we're gonna react to how I beat Pikmin without making Pikmin. Which is an hour long video. Jesus Christ, I don't know if I can have storage for that. Anyways, that was that. I will see y'all later, and bye bye.